Welcome back to Morning Footy, everyone. Now, Tottenham welcome Borussia Dortmund to North London today with kick-off set for 3 p.m. Now, Spurs currently sit higher in the Champions League in 11th place than they do in the Premier League, where they're down to 14th. Now, that contrast has fueled plenty of noise surrounding Thomas Frank's position. And it's been a mixed first season in charge for Frank. He started strongly, losing just one of his first 7 matches, but that momentum did not last. In the following 15 games, Tottenham suffered 8 defeats and managed only 3 wins. Now, Thomas Frank addressed speculation about his future with Tottenham yesterday, and more so if he is feeling supported by the club. Take a listen.
I've just been, how can you say, feeling the trust along the way. I've done that, I've said that every press meeting that there's backing and support. I had lunch with Nick and Vinay and Johan today, so all good. I know it's part of the, how can you say, the media circus, and the only focus I have is to do everything I can for us to win tomorrow against Dortmund. I haven't heard any situation like that in football where I say, hey mate, if you win tomorrow, no problem. If you lose tomorrow, no problem. We had a good conversation about life and football, the future of the club, everything normal like you do. Of course, there's a little bit, how can you say, stormy weather out there. I just think it's an extremely good sign, because normally people are running away if there's bad news or bad weather coming. They're normally not coming in and being friendly for long.
Can I just press you on, do you think you personally can still win the fans back around?
Yeah, I'm not in doubt of that.
Geoff, do you think that sounds like someone who's confident that he's got his job set in stone for a while?
I'd say, Thomas, beware of smiling assassins.
Yeah.
Just because you had lunch with the execs, that doesn't guarantee your future by any stretch of the imagination.
The dreaded vote of confidence.
Yeah, it could well be they just simply don't have a replacement yet. And he said stormy weather. I'd say that a
tempest.
Yeah, the meteorological office have said there's electrical, there's a hurricane, there's snow, there's earthquakes, you name it, the whole lot, and it's already at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
In reality, what's he going to say though?
I know. Yeah,
what's he going to say in a press conference?
Ask Oliver Glasner.
It'll make the situation much worse, right?
Thomas Frank is a genuinely upbeat guy, and he's good in press conferences. He answers with good humour, and normally with a smile on his face. So it's testimony to him that in the current scenario, he's managed to retain that demeanour.
I think he's trying to conserve any harmony there's left of the atmosphere at Spurs right now. For as tumultuous and as turbulent we think it is, if you come out and you're as honest as Oliver Glasner or Ruben Amorim, the situation will be just much worse than it actually is. So I feel like he knows everything you're saying, Geoff, about the smiling assassins, but just outwardly, I think you need to try to control the situation.
Each individual manager handles a situation like that. You could go the Glasner route. You could go the smiling Thomas Frank route. You could be placid, calm, cool. I just love to see how each individual manager handles a situation like this.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well, just as you said that, I'm thinking out loud. At Palace, at Old Trafford, at Selhurst, at Old Trafford, the atmosphere is nowhere near as toxic as it is at Tottenham.
Well, they've only had 2 home wins.
It is dreadful. Absolutely.
They sang "You'll be sacked in the morning" to their own manager.
Yeah. They could be the first team in history to get booed by their own fans onto the pitch.
Well, Geoff, how can Thomas Frank win back these fans? What are some things he can do? I think winning
matches is probably the first
three things he needs to do. Funny enough, I was posed this question yesterday. So rather than look at the statistics and the numbers, I phoned my friends and journalists who are Tottenham fans. I said, what can he do to win back the Tottenham fans? Genuinely, they nearly all said, that ship has sailed. It's not going to happen. So there's extreme doubt. What can he do? 1, set up and play far more positively. They're too negative. They're too defensive-minded. And there's an accusation, this is a hangover from his Brentford days, because, of course, Brentford's target is to stay in the Premier League. Tottenham fans, for this is Tottenham. We've got to be far more ambitious than that. Secondly, way more creativity. And it's kind of a hangover from step 1. There's not creativity in the play. Now, I would say he's got an extremely poor squad. The quality of the players at Tottenham
haven't really added more creativity in Conor Gallagher, have they?
No, a runner. Yeah. So, and don't just rely on set pieces. And thirdly, and Aaron said it, you've got to start winning some games, especially at home. I'm telling you now, Dortmund, I don't think the Tottenham fans are expecting anything. I think he's only got 13 fit players as well. They've got really, really bad injuries. Dortmund, they just expect to be disappointed. But the massive one at the weekend is Burnley. Lose to Burnley, I think he's toast.
Where's that game?
At the weekend.
Home?
They are at, where were they? No, they're at home to West Ham, so they must be away. I think they're away. Somebody will tell us shortly.
Okay.
Lose to, I mean, you can't be talking about Tottenham and Burnley as a six-pointer this early in the season. Of course you can't.
Right.
But lose to Burnley, I think it would be untenable for him to continue.
Isn't it crazy how much of a drop-off in these first two cases Spurs have shown without James Maddison? Like, they tried to foresee a sort of replacement in Xavi Simons, and he hasn't been the player that they've expected him to be. I guess to a certain extent, Conor Gallagher gives you a little bit of that, but he's not James Maddison, right? I think he gives you a little bit more on both sides of the ball, or at least that's what he showed at Atletico Madrid. At Crystal Palace, he was more of that creative force.
Yeah.
But it's incredible how lacking they are, how not positive they are, because going forward, right? Giving you a sort of play that makes you hopeful.
Yeah.
It's just it's the classic type of football where it's grown effusive, you know, like grown like in the stands where you're going, classic in the Premier League.
I also think Conor Gallagher is the most quintessentially Spurs signing as well. He's £40 million for a player that doesn't address any of your issues. They have plenty of running and graft in midfield. What they need is someone to progress the ball up the pitch, someone to give Xavi the ball in dangerous areas. Conor Gallagher is not that guy. He is a player who will give you plenty of effort and work rate, but I don't think he's the connecting player that they need.
I think he gives you more than what they have already, but not like
enough.
But in theory, Xavi Simons was your guy to do that, right?
He's more of an attacking third player. They need that link player. They also have really
he's more of a link player. He's more of a link player than Betancourt and Palhinha, and perhaps even Sarr. I think he gives you, because he was more of that player at Crystal Palace, was he not? And then at Atletico Madrid, he became a little bit more.
I still see him as a runner. Like, I think that's why Atleti wanted him, because of that running and because of that work effort that work ethic he gives you on both sides of the ball. But I just don't see him being the guy that's going to link play for them.
Who is Tottenham's number 9? Can you tell me?
Solanke?
Injured? Is he good enough?
Matthias Tell was left out of the Champions League.
Left out of the Champions League.
And also Richarlison injured,
and also not really a number 9.
They overpaid for Solanke, which is, I think,
65 million.
A symbol of just the bad business that Spurs has done over the last 2-3 windows.
There's questions about all their signings.
Yeah.
Well, I think this comes to the wider question: why? We've seen other clubs part company with their managers. Why have Tottenham not done something and made a move on Thomas Frank already? I think there's a feeling amongst the leadership. There's been so much turmoil at Tottenham. You think from the start of last season, change of coach, change of manager, change of
ownership,
chairman, change of captain. So it's and when they look at them, they won't want to look to Arsenal. Of course they won't. But in football, we're seeing in general too much change is not a recipe for success.
Yeah, I think
for them to ditch Thomas Frank, I think that plays into the factors as to why he hasn't gone already.
And not only that, contradictory messages from all of those parties, right, that make the situation even more worse in the situation. And from the outside looking in, you can only interpret that it's a disaster, right? When Cuti Romero's calling out people, when the manager's saying, "Oh no, everything is super chill."
Yeah.
It's almost incoherent to a point.
Well, Geoff, it's interesting you said on your list Thomas Frank needs to start winning with Tottenham to regain the fan support.
It would be a start.
Yeah. But then you look at Dortmund with Niko Kovač. Dortmund
opposite, isn't it?
are doing great this season. They're second in Bundesliga. They've lost one game in the Champions League. But the fans are still sceptical of Niko Kovač for his playing style. They're saying it's quite boring. So does that prove, even if you're winning, if fans don't take to your style, they might not be on board with you.
You both have to win. That's number one. Then you have to win in the right way. It's a really, really hard thing to be a football manager, isn't it? You have to get the result, and then you have to do it in the way that the fans want you to get the result. Dortmund has predicated their play over the years. The way that they want to play is creatively. They want to attack. They want to get forward. But very often that has led to no trophies. Niko Kovač is a winner. He is a manager. He was a player that was all about graft, hard work. As a manager, he's very much the same way. He wants his teams to be very organized, to do the running, to do the work. Maybe Dortmund fans don't love that, but when was the last time they won a trophy?
So is that their downfall? Because they haven't won anything.
Their downfall is that they're in a league with Bayern Munich.
The towel was thrown in way too early.
Way too.
And
they're
think
perpetually the little brother, and they have that mindset, and they always have.
I think it's a mindset sort of thing.
Big thing to change.
I think it's very difficult, especially when Bayern is as strong as they have been this season.
And they have that history as well, having bailed them out.
So where's the hope, right?
Leverkusen.
Well, not even. And Leverkusen has been so off the mark.
But it can be done. Is my point.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why I feel like Dortmund is always hopeful to be that team that will unseat Bayern, and they haven't been in so long. And it's just, where's the hope for winning Champions League? Yeah, you got to a final, but that's like, it feels like an anomaly as opposed to rather than the trend over the last couple of years where you push to the last second and you still don't get it done. And then your last thing to fall in is that, well, at least we play well, but this season they don't.
Yeah. Well, let's bring in our CBS Sports betting correspondent, John Eimer, as we like to call Bucket. Bucket, you are going off to Germany next week. And one thing I know about you is you absolutely hate flying. So how are you feeling ahead of your trip? Because we understand you're going to a couple of football matches, aren't you?
I am. I'm not the most traveled person. I've been outside of Ohio twice in my life, so a bit of a jump going straight to Munich here. I'm trying just to not think about it, to be honest. The flight is going to be the hardest part by far. So if you guys have any advice for A, surviving an 8-hour flight, or B, surviving in Europe, I will take any advice from anyone at this point.
I'll text you. Don't worry about it.
Okay, perfect.
It's easy. Drink heavily for both.
We understand you got some bets for us on this matchup. What have you got?
Absolutely. I've got one bet for this Dortmund match, and this match is a perfect example about how in football betting you can make things and numbers sound better than they actually are. I'm seeing a lot of people online this morning taking Spurs to win this matchup, and their argument is that Spurs have a perfect record in their 3 UCL games at home this season, which is by itself a true statement. They've outscored their opponents 8-0 at home over 3 UCL games, but by saying that, you're ignoring everything else that you guys have talked about for the last 20 minutes here. And for me, that's just not fair. I'm going to represent Michael Lahoud here and say that Dortmund are the better side. I think Dortmund win this game. And more importantly for my bet, I think Dortmund scored 2+ goals in this fixture, which is priced at +110. I'm looking at a Dortmund side with 19 goals over their 6 UEFA matches so far this season. A Dortmund side that in 4 of those 6 have scored not 2+ goals, but 4+ goals. And a Dortmund side that coming back from Bundesliga holiday break have scored 3+ goals in all 3 of their matches. They've got Adeyemi, they've got Girassi, they've got Brandt, and they've got Bier. This team is loaded with attacking talent, and 14 different players on Dortmund have goals this season. I do not have faith in this Tottenham side at all. I watched that 2-1 loss against West Ham of all teams, and right now I don't want to back Frank, I don't want to back Spurs, and I think there's a lot of money just betting on the away team, betting on Dortmund to make something happen here with 2+ goals.
I agree with you, Buckets. What if you wanted to go stronger? Because Tottenham, large number of injuries, and extremely low on confidence, not a supportive crowd. What about say like a 3-0 margin victory for Dortmund?
Ooh.
So Dortmund to score over 2.5, so 3 goals is +400. Huh. That's not even just taking the spread. That's just Dortmund +3 or more goals. Dortmund to score 2 or more in the first half, +650. So there's a lot of different ways you can ladder goals here. I was shocked that Dortmund to score 2 was giving us plus money. I was ready to argue why -130, -140 was going to be worth it. But I'm with you, Jeff. I don't have faith on Spurs right now. Dortmund to win to 0. +710 as well. So a lot of different ways you can play this one.
I was more inclined to smash both teams to score before this matchup, but I feel like you guys have kind of talked me out of it. But again, Spurs at home and Dortmund often can get caught in these crazy like 3-3 games. I feel like regardless, it probably doesn't pay that much anyway.
It doesn't. Both teams to score is minus 180 right now, so you're spending $180 to win 100 back. If you wanted to play BTTS, I would just make sure to parlay it with something else. Both teams to score in over 2.5. Both teams to score in Dortmund money line. There's still ways to include BTTS, but by itself, it's not worth it to me.